If I'm being honest, I'm completely obsessed with cameras. And I have been ever since I was a kid, and I would just photograph all my friends skateboarding. Found this gem the other day. That's Dakota and Andy. It's weird when a kid's named Andy. It feels too grown up. And so for the past few years, I've been going down this rabbit hole where I've been basically trying to figure out what I wanted in a camera, and lenses, bodies, all that stuff. I really kind of went deep into it, and I came out of it thinking I had a good grasp of what it was that I wanted. Bubbles are fun. And then I started doing this professionally, right? And things changed a little bit because what I thought I needed, actually, it turned out wasn't exactly what I needed. What I loved about cameras isn't necessarily the kind of thing that made sense for my business. We're gonna set up here for a minute. So it shifted to what was best was no longer about what I loved the most. Instead, it was like, you see this camera here? This is what's best for what I do for work. And if I'm being honest, what I do for work is what's most important right now. And realistically, technically speaking, the best cameras I've ever had was the Sony a7 IV, the Fujifilm X-H2S, and this camera here, the S5 IIX from Lumix. That's a lot of letters and numbers. But all that to say that, technically speaking, these are the best cameras I've owned. And this will probably remain my video camera for the foreseeable future because it's an excellent camera and it does really, really great video. But I'm a photographer first, right? Like, that's what I do. I take photos for a living mostly. Although a lot of video stuff seems to be happening now. I'm not about to start bashing this camera for its photo qualities because it takes beautiful photos. It really does. I was talking to my buddy Taylor yesterday and he just used it and he was saying it's like the closest to like the SL2 that he's used, which is pretty incredible considering how cheap this camera is. By the way, we're here right now. So, as a photographer first, what is the best photography camera I've ever owned? Like, if I put aside autofocus and I put aside all the little quality of life stuff that I need for my work, what is the best camera I've ever owned? Let's do a top three. So the best cameras I've ever owned are the Canon 5D Classic, the Canon 5D Mark II, and the Fujifilm X-T3. These are the best favorite cameras that I have ever owned. These are my favorite. These are my favorite cameras. I'm willing to say that publicly on the internet as someone who puts stuff on the internet for fun. These cameras give me the same kind of in love, obsessed feelings I had about cameras when I first got into photography when I was younger. They make me excited to take photos and they feel like cameras should. To me, just to me. Not your experience may vary, albeit each in a slightly different way. Now, I said favorite of the cameras that I have owned because I don't own all of these cameras currently. What I do own though is this, the 5D Classic, this beautiful old hunk of something. And before moving on, maybe we should just sort of take a second to appreciate this old, beautiful piece of technology that I have sitting on this picnic table. Look at this thing. Hold on. Listen to this. Wheel here. It's just nice. It's just nice. It feels nice. You put it on, you want to take photos. Almost dropped this boy. So why do I like this camera? What makes this 5D Mark I? Oh, it's so nice. So enjoyable to use if I'm just a photographer who needs stuff for work. Why would I keep going back to this camera? Hold on, my keys are jingling like crazy. Honestly, it's just really fun. The pictures look nice. They look like, do you remember what photos used to look like when you were a kid? It looks like that because the best photos in the world were taken with this camera in 2005 when I was 2015. And I still can look at images from that time shot on this camera and feel a certain level of nostalgia and a certain level of appreciation and love for those photos. They feel like the kind of photos I wanted to take when I was first getting into photography. Does that make sense? Are you hearing me? So the 5D Mark II does the same thing, albeit I would say a little bit better in some areas. But I do just love the look of the 5D Mark II in general too. It's a little crunchier, a little more contrasty, different tonalities, but it's beautiful. And the X-T3, I think the reason I like the X-T3 is it reminds me so much of some of the old film cameras I used to love. And it still feels like a fairly analog experience, which is why a lot of people love the Fuji stuff, right? And I shot with every Fuji camera there was for a while, probably for that reason. There's old ladies at the Arboretum and I think they want me to stop filming, so I'm gonna go. Would you like to come out? Here, come out. Good stretch. Oh, good stretch. So yeah, I'm slowly but surely on the hunt for a new camera for photo. Let's be clear, not because this camera is not capable, but just because adding a second camera will be necessary for me as I take on more weddings. I really don't want to have my backup camera be a Canon 5D Classic because I don't think that's the right move. And I would really like to have something that just feels a little bit better as a camera for me. But it won't feel better in my heart than a 5D Classic or than an X-T3 or a 5D Mark II, because those in my heart, in my soul, feel like the best cameras. What's your best camera? See you soon.